The U.S. federal government just shut down, but this time, it might not matter. Most shutdowns send shock waves through the economy. Markets react, citizens panic, headlines dominate for weeks. This one is different, and understanding why reveals something important about how Washington actually operates and what it means for your money. On Saturday, January 31st, the federal government partially shut down. Congress missed its midnight funding deadline. But here is the critical detail. Most people are skipping over. This is not a full shutdown. Several major agencies, Agriculture, Veterans Affairs, the Department of Justice, Energy, Interior, and Commerce, remain fully operational. Why? Because Congress already passed legislation, funding them for the rest of the fiscal year. Only a handful of agencies are effective, and the House is expected to vote on a Senate-approved spending bill backed by the White House when representatives return next week. This shutdown has an expiration date. It was almost designed to. When you see the word shutdown, the instinct is to assume collapse. But what actually happened here is closer to a negotiation tactic than a breakdown. Congress missed a deadline, but the framework for resolution already exists. The Senate passed a deal. The White House supports it. The House just needs to vote. This is not dysfunction. This is leverage. Political leaders use short, controlled shutdowns to signal priorities to their base, to the media, and to each other. The shutdown is the message. The resolution is already scheduled. Not all government shutdowns are created equal. In the record-long shutdown last fall, entire agencies went dark. Millions of Americans on SNAP benefits, food assistance, faced delays of days or even weeks. Federal workers missed paychecks. Loan approvals stalled. This time, that is largely avoided. The departments handling food assistance, veteran services, and the justice system are funded and operating. This is a partial shutdown, and the agencies left unfunded are limited in their public-facing impact. The pain exists, but it is contained. Even contained shutdowns carry real consequences. Travelers may face delays at airports as TSA and air traffic control staffing thins. Federal employees in affected agencies could miss paychecks, not because the government cannot pay them, but because the authorization to release those funds has not been passed. Home buyers and small business owners seeking federal loans may find those processes frozen. These are real people, real delays, real financial pressure, but the scale is narrower than most headlines suggest. Here is what most coverage misses. This shutdown did not happen by accident. It happened because the legislative calendar, the funding structure, and the political incentives all aligned to make a brief interruption survivable. Rachel Snyderman, Managing Director of Economic Policy at the Bipartisan Policy Center, described the overall impact as, quote, negligible. That word, negligible, is doing a lot of work. It tells you that the people watching the money closely are not alarmed. When the experts are calm, pay attention to that. The real story here is not the shutdown itself. It is the structure that made this shutdown so manageable. Congress pre-funded the most sensitive agencies months in advance. That was a deliberate choice, a hedge against exactly this kind of political brinkmanship. The system is not broken. It is designed to absorb these moments without collapse. And that design, quiet, unglamorous, and rarely reported, is what keeps the machinery running, even when the headlines say otherwise. But here's the question. Most analysts are not asking if shutdowns can be made this painless, this contained, then what stops Congress from using them routinely? If a shutdown costs almost nothing politically and buys negotiating leverage at almost no real expense to citizens, then the incentive to avoid them disappears. The very design that made this shutdown survivable may be the reason shutdowns keep happening. That is not a bug in the system. It might be a feature. The government shut down, but the world kept turning. The real power in Washington is not in the headlines. It is in the quiet decisions made long before the deadline arrives. Understanding that is how you stay ahead, in politics, in markets, and in everything in between.